going to be going over the endocrine system, which is a system of feedback loops of hormones within the body. It controls the body through hormones, which are secreted into the blood, and they're using ducts. And a lot of the hormones will also create a basically a domino effect, reacting with and creating another part of the body to release another hormone. So parts of it are the pituitary, the hypothalamus, the ovaries, uterus, and the placenta. These are parts that are the primary repro glands. That's what I'm going to be going over today. So if we were to have a cow, an image of a cow, ignore my rough sketch of a cow, it's gonna be something. This is the tail. And these are the back legs with the udder. Which goes into the front legs. Okay, that's a very rough sketch of a cow. Alright, and in the cow, you'll see the adrenal cortex, the ovaries. In a pregnant cow, you'll see the placenta around. We'll call it a uterus or an embryo, and then you'll see up here the pineal gland with the pituitary gland and the hypothalamus, which hypothalamus and pituitary. All right. And so that'll cover your ovaries, uterus, placenta, and then uterus. All right. There are 3 types of hormones that will be released in the endocrine system. One is a releasing hormone. This is generally released by the hypothalamus. Alright, and then your second option is the stimulating hormone. Which is generally released by the pituitary. Go ahead and highlight that as well. Alright, and then the steroid hormones, which those are by the targeted tissue. Okay. Alright. And then from there, I'm going to go ahead and talk about an example with the hypothalamus. So the hypothalamus will release LH, luteinizing hormone, and FSH. And both of these will have effects within the body. So FSH or LH will affect theca cells, And so these will affect theca cells, which will be stimulated to produce androgens, which will go to the granulose cells, and then the granulose cells will then produce these enzymes, which will go into estrogens. However, FSH will simply go into the granulose cells and follow this part of the cycle. Alright, so I'm going to go further, a little bit farther out to show you a more broad process of how it goes. So if you have the ovary, it'll produce progesterone, which will go up to the hypothalamus. That's good. Take those down here. Produce progesterone. Hypothalamus. And so this will cause the anterior lobe of the pituitary gland to produce the LSH and FSH, which will then go into the ovary. And the ovary will determine if it has enough, and if it doesn't, it'll produce progesterone and continue the cycle. It's a negative feedback. If the progesterone is high, then it means that low GnRH, FSH, and LH. But if not, it'll produce an inhibition, and that'll go straight into the anterior lobe of the pituitary gland. So let's just put pituitary. And it'll stop it from continuing on. The other option is oestradiol will have a similar effect, causing increase and decrease. So estrogens, high estrogen equals high LH and FSH, while high progesterones equal low LH and FSH. Okay. And the way that the endocrine system works is it'll create a loop. So one hormone will trigger a different part of the body. And another hormone. And this will continue until a need is met and things are regulated. So a really good example of the feedback loops that the endocrine system can have is actually a part of the pancreas. So an example is the pancreas will release insulin or glucagon, depending on what your body needs at the time. So if your blood sugars are really high, you'll release insulin, and if they're really low, you'll release glucagon. So this will work to create homeostasis, which is ultimately the goal of the endocrine system as a whole. The pretty simple example of the pancreas shows how one hormone will affect another, and this creates a cascade, what's called a cascade effect of the hormones affecting one another. This is what we're seeing with the LH factor. So the LH will then factor into the other cells and create more hormone effects with more hormones, and this is called a cascade.